Welcome back to the floor of IAE 2950 for a lore tour with Misc, Musashi Industrial Starflight Concern. Let's get started, shall we? Let's get started with the lore behind Misc, kind of the story behind them. They were founded in 2805, early 29th century, between Musashi and Hato. Musashi, which was kind of a lifestyle brand from ACOM, people who make the ACOM Starheart, lots of engines and power plants and such, Hato Electronics, they do have large production facilities everywhere. So the Musashi brand was like kind of like an offshoot of ACOM. It was like a lifestyle, unique stuff. Like it was innovative in terms of how they designed things. And so when they merged with Hato in Electronics, they started to do more designs for ships, and eventually came the first ship from Misc, which was the Hull series. So let's get started with that. Let's go downstairs and check out the Hull series. All right, so let's start off with talking about the Hull C. The Hull C is the real first major ship from Misc. The idea was to fill a need. So post-Mezzer era, after the fall of the Mezzers in the late 28th century, the early 29th century had a very big problem. There was just not enough heavy haulers that existed in the verse. A lot of the companies that made those haulers were companies that had tight ties with the Mezzers, and they skipped town, ran for their lives, or were, locked up for, crimes against humanity during the Mezzer era. So there was not a lot of ships, those bigger ships left around. Fun fact, Aegis, the only reason why Aegis didn't go down was because all of the military ships were Aegis, and they needed Aegis parts to be stuck around, and they needed Aegis to make new ships. So they were spared the hangman's noose as a company because of that. But almost all of the other major civilian manufacturers that existed were gone now. So Misc stepped into that void with the Hull C, which not only became popular for humans, but became the most popular ship in the galaxy. These are the most common ones. And so after they built the Hull C, they built a range of other ones, including the Hull D and E, and then down for the Hull B and A. All of them based off the same technology, based off the same design, with slight modifications to increase or decrease the amount that can carry, but also the cost. So this is the most ubiquitous ship. These ships are everywhere. In fact, Misc made a deal in 2910, I think, or around that time, with the Xi'an Empire, specifically so that they could trade schematics for the Hull series with for technology from the Xi'an government. Now you will see that's one of the reasons why it's so popular in the verse, is because there are whole series ships that are built by the Xi'an and fly all over Xi'an space because they're reliable, they're easy to maintain, and they're easy to build. So the Hull series is that's pretty common ships. And then we've got the Hull A. So the Hull A is like the Hull C, only just smaller. And it's designed for newer haulers starting out, but the uniqueness about the Hull A and the Hull B compared to the Hull C is that the Hull C cannot actually land with all its cargo. It has to stay in orbit, but the Hull B and the Hull A can. They're configured so that they can land with all of their cargo intact, making them great freight shuttles from the planet to orbital bodies, just from place to place if you are a small hauler. And the advantage of the B and A is that they're the same kind of style. They have some small gun ports in the front, but it's basically just a single player ship. So one person can operate them without much conflict at all. Now let's go to the second oldest ship in Aegis, the Starfarer. Now, there she is. All right, so this is the Starfarer Gemini. Well, we'll talk about the Starfarer first, then we'll talk about the Gemini. So the Starfarer came out after the Hull series, and it was super popular because it is not only a gas hauler, but a gas refiner. It can scoop up gas from nebulas or from gas giants and then refine them into hydrogen fuel of various different degrees. It was very useful because it also had the ability to take that gas, and then refuel ships in situ. And so the UEE Navy came asking for Misc to build them a version of this. And the problem is that Misc doesn't know how to build for military standards, never really planned on doing that. But of course they agreed to do it because money. So what they did instead was they kind of subcontracted this whole thing out to Aegis. Because they had a lot of experience making military ships. So this is the Starfarer Gemini, which is the Starfarer that is built by Misc, modified by Aegis for military standards. So it actually replaces the front fuel scoop with, I think these are torpedoes, and then on top it also has a bigger gun platform on the very top. So it makes it a little bit more heavier armored and more ammo, more gunned up as a ship. After that, we have the Freelancer, which is probably the most recent one. All right, so the most ubiquitous ship in the brand of Misc, the Freelancer. So the Freelancer is one of the first ships built by Misc in the 30th century. This was built around the same time as the negotiation with the Xi'an Empire was happening, and some of this technology that they got from the Xi'an actually ended up in the Freelancer itself. We don't know, originally that was supposed to be the engines back there would rotate, but I think it might have gone into things like the thrusters and improving the quality of the thrusters so that it's a little bit more maneuverable than a ship that like its size should be. But the Freelancer was super popular with long-haul truckers and people on the frontier who needed to have cargo space for running cargo in the frontier, because it was rough, it was easy to maintain, but it was also super and reliable, and also super flexible for what it can do. And so people started modifying old Freelancers after the first run came through for various jobs that they need. So Misc, seeing that their Freelancer, their venerable Freelancer, was getting very much changed over time, they decided that they were going to do those changes themselves and release variants of those to sell in the market with the newest, latest Freelancer technology in them. So this is one of them, the Freelancer Dur. These little pods in the front are actually the scanners, a scanning suite to improve detection of things like wormholes, jump points, and other anomaly. It has it replaces some of the missiles out for extended fuel pods. It actually has extra fuel scoops and a fuel refinery on board, similar to the Starfarer, that specifically is designed to refine hydrogen fuel to keep it aloft. So this allows this thing to go very far and loiter in areas that no other kind of ship could. So it's a very, very unique ship for its role. It's one of the best exploration vessels for just a single person out there in the verse. Next, we've got the Freelancer Max. It's just a cargoed up Freelancer. It has double the engines because it needs more thrust. You can see that just the sheer size of the cargo bay is twice that of a normal Freelancer. This allows for the Freelancer Max to become a big hauler. It actually holds 120, 140 SCU, something like that. It can hold a lot of cargo for its size. It still has all the advantages of the Freelancer. It's rugged. It has good weaponry, lots of missiles. Just can hold more cargo, which is pretty cool. And then arguably the best Freelancer actually built originally for the military, which is the Freelancer Miss. The idea of this was to take the Freelancer and then turn it into a combat vessel. And they did that by adding bespoke size 5 missiles, I think, in the mid bay right here. So it almost doubles the missile capacity of the Freelancer series with just missiles. And the original idea was that this back end over here would actually be filled with extra missiles so that you could just replace these. You see that they're all in their own little like container, so you just bring the missiles in, slap them in there. As they get fired, you can easily replace them. So you can have someone in back here to just constantly load in more missiles. This allows for the ship to become a long range, have the range of the Freelancer, the speed of the Freelancer, the armor of the Freelancer, the reliability of the Freelancer, but the firepower of a ship twice its size, giving it a very decent cut. And still today, it is very dangerous of a ship. Often used in Q ship as a Q ship for, like, you know, say a bounty hunter might have one of these so that they could stay loitering in an area where pirates would be, where they're looking for them because they can get money on them. And by the time the pirate realizes that the ship that they're hunting, the Freelancer they're hunting, isn't a Freelancer but a Miss, they already have a fleet of missiles flying at them. So, and similar to the DUR, it has these little pods up in the front, which are not scanning suites for exploration purposes, but targeting suites for missiles to increase the size of it. So yeah, the Freelancer, built with Xi'an technology, it's become very popular in the verse for wildcat, freelance pilots. So let's move on to some of the newer ships in the verse from Misc. All right, the 2947 Prospector. The Prospector was built, I don't know, we don't have a full lore on it, but we do know that it was built as early, or as most recently as 2947, a couple years ago. Built to, again, help those frontiersmen, people who have, like the Freelancer, get most out of their daily labor. So if someone wants to be a miner, wants to run a small mining corporation, now you've got a vessel which is reliable and easy to maintain, just like any other Misc ship is. But with the added benefit of some Xi'an technology with these thrusters. Pretty simple to pilot. So, nice big bubble canopy in comparison to most Misc ships as well. So yeah. And then we've got the Misc Razor. This is a unique oddity amongst the Misc ships. The Razor itself is not a combat ship or a utility ship. It's a racing ship. So the Misc Razor was first built in, I think, pretty recently. Let's see. Let me make sure any dates on here. No dates on here. So these were built as part of a racing line to help add in some more tech. These are kind of like essentially like advertising ships. You know how some car manufacturers will help build F1 racers, or will build like NASCAR, or like, you know, they'll help build some racing cars. This is that kind of thing. These were designed as kind of a way of exploiting, showing off some of their cool Xi'an tech, and applying them to a unique way, which was racing, which is a pretty popular pastime. In fact, you have CTR here, which is a Xi'an company, and you've got Microtech, Cryastro Stations, Bearing, and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of other kind of companies here that help sponsor this ship to be made. And in response, they also made a couple of other versions. They made the LX, which is the luxury version. I believe it is also super fast. I don't think it has some weapons on it, but it's mostly like a faster version. And then you've got the stealth fighter version, which is the EX. So this is the more of the designed as almost with the advocacy in mind. I believe this is what this was originally designed for, was to give the advocacy a chase ship, so that they could chase down criminals if they needed to, and they usually come standard with these shotguns, which are able to disable and knock out a lot of ships. So so this is an advocacy ship built by Misc, which is kind of a weird concept. Now we shall go to the worst of the Misc line. The worst. They are. They're really actually not that good. Reliance. Welcome to the Misc Reliant. So the thing that makes the Misc Reliant interesting is that it's a very recent design, built around the same time as the Huxaw was being negotiated. So it's kind of become a little bit of that, a little lightning rod for that, being that it is the visual representation of human and Xi'an diplomacy, with Misc always being at the forefront of of dealing with with Xi'an tech and Xi'an stuff. Now, the thing about this is that the Reliants are designed with not only with Xi'an tech in mind, but also with Xi'an styles in mind. So it looks flat right now, but when it takes off, it rotates. So it becomes like a flying wing, very similar to like the B-wing. And the other thing that makes it unique is that it's a small ship, but it also has space for two pilots, for a pilot and a co-pilot, or a pilot and a side seat. So this is the Misc core. Reliant. This is the Tana, actually. This is the Tana. Let me go find the core real quickly. Is that the core? It might be. There's the core. Yeah, so the core, or the Cori, is the basic variant. It is just a cargo variant. It has its back area over here is just a cargo hull. It is woefully lacking in terms of actual space, but it is fairly decent. It has some areas. Where the Reliant really shines is in the Tana and the Sen. The Tana is got a lot of firepower built into it, and has some spaces for cargo, as well as a lot of space for, it's got like a 1 SCU area of cargo right here. And then you've got these two beds, plus it has like storage space for like armor and such, and 3 rack for guns. So it's a pretty good ship overall. And it really does show what human and Xi'an technology together can really do when it comes to things like military combat. Then you've got the Sen here, which is the science variant, and you've got the most pointless one, which is the Mako. The Mako, which is the quote unquote news van variant. It's designed as kind of a place, somewhere one you can record and then transmit a bunch of information from. So it's similar to the I'm like blanking on the name, the Herald, but the difference is that it's really never been billed as an info runner. It's mostly just a broadcaster, whereas the Herald can do both. So that is Misc for on the floor of 2950, IA 2950. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. If you did, please hit that follow button, that subscribe button. Make sure you guys are liking and commenting down below as well. It means a lot to you guys to come here and check this out. If you guys want to learn more about lore, I've got all of this set up for Galactic Historian. Go to our playlists and such like that. If you want to learn about Crusader, Kruger, and Tumbril, I had a video next time, and then coming up next is going to be Drake Interplanetary. That'll come out tomorrow. We've been kind of releasing these on a staggered release schedule.